Right, today what am I brewing up? I'm brewing up a really easy brew. It's almost embarrassingly easy, this one. This is basically made out of hopped light dried malt extract. So as I was surfing the internet the other day, I noticed that one of the online retailers, Brewco, was selling off these bags of hopped light dried malt extract, 500 grams, for £1. So being the tight ass that I am, I bought a whole box full and thought I'd work out how to use them and use them to experiment on a few different hops and things like that. So bought a whole box of them. My first brew is going to be kind of my baseline. So I'm brewing it pretty much as it is. Now these are hopped light dried malt extract, but I think mainly that hopped refers to the bitterness. I don't think there's going to be too much flavour coming from these, but I don't know, I've never used it. So I'm assuming the hopped just refers to the bitterness. It says on the packet the bitterness is EBC 30 to 42. Now there's very little information about this online. I emailed Muntons Direct, I didn't get a reply back for a couple of days. Posted on the kind of homebrew forums to find out if anyone actually knew. Nobody seems to know. So thankfully, eventually I got a reply back from Muntons, and they provided me with a calculation that I could use to work out how much bitterness using this, or basically per gram of this, would give my overall brew. So I'm doing a 12 litre batch today. I've punched all of the information into Brewfather. What I'll do is I'll put that calculation down in the comments. So if anyone does use this, they can work it out for themselves how much it's going to provide, how much bitterness it's going to provide to your overall brew. So using 4 bags, which is 2 kilos in a 12 litre brew, is going to provide 45 IBUs, apparently. All right, so that's according to the way I've calculated it using the formula they've given me. So 45 IBUs is going to be sort of a moderately bittered ale. So as I kind of want to keep this as basic as possible, I'm literally just going to ferment this out, and at the end of fermentation I'm going to dry hop it. So I've actually got a packet of Summit hops here. This came with another kit which I brewed recently, but I swapped out the Summit hops for some US Cascade hops, as I just fancied using them at the time. So I've got a packet of hops that cost me pretty much nothing. I'm going to use a Cooper's yeast sachet that normally I would just pick off the top of the cans and replace it with something like a US-05 type yeast. And one of the reasons I do that is because these are quite small, 7 gram packs. So I always feel like there's not quite enough yeast for a 23 litre brew. So for 7 grams in a 12 litre brew, I think that's going to be plenty. And looking at the code on the back, you can actually look these up on the internet. It tells you that this is the Cooper's standard ale yeast. Some of them are kind of hybrid ale and lager yeasts. This one happens to be just the standard ale yeast. So that's going to work perfectly in this. So yeah, I mean, it couldn't really be easier. What I'm going to get, hopefully at the end, is a nice pale ale with a bit of hop character from these Summit hops, and it should be all right, hopefully. And as I say, it's going to give me my baseline. It's costed me, what, £4 to do 12 litres, so I should get kind of about 11 litres bottled up, and my maths is correct. Works out less than 20p for a bottle of this beer. So is it going to be any good? That is the question. I don't know, it might be. Hopefully it is, because I've got a big box of these to use up. I think probably on the next one I'll start to, or at least once I've tasted this, I'll probably maybe add some specialty grains. I might change the yeast up. I might add some hops in before fermentation rather than just using dry hops. I don't know, the world's my oyster. But certainly actually for the next one, I'm going to forage some sort of hedgerow hops that are growing quite near me. I live in Kent, so there are quite a few hops around if you keep your eyes peeled at this time of year. and I spotted some not too far away, so I'm going to go and grab those at the weekend. I've got no idea what they are, but they're going to work perfectly with these because it's already pre-bittered. I don't have to worry about the bitterness of those hops. I can just do a kind of hop stand at the end, and I should just get the flavour and aroma from them. So it's going to be perfect for that. And hopefully this little brew that I'm going to knock together is going to work out all right as well. So £1 a bag, happy days. I'm not going to bother filming my brew because I'm literally just going to dissolve this in some hot water, top it up with cold, add the yeast, let it ferment for 10 days, add the dry hops, let it sit for another couple of days, bottle it up. So that's it. All right, so I'll see you back here for the tasting. Hopefully it's good news. See you then. Right, welcome back to the tasting. So this is my kind of baseline brew using the hopped dried malt extract. This has now been in the bottle for 4 weeks. So one thing I have noticed, which is very curious, is that it looks quite hazy in the bottle. Now, as you see from the start of the video, this was literally just dried malt extract. I used bottled mineral water, not tap water, and a packet of Cooper's yeast. That was it. That's all that's been in contact with this beer. And the dry hop that went in, which was the Summit hops, after about 10 days. So I have no idea why this kind of looks a little bit hazy in the bottle, but we'll have a look in the glass, see what it's turned out to be. So yeah, so in the bottle for about 4 weeks. Let's see what it does look like. Okay, so a reasonable bit of carbonation. It's a nice pale colour, as you would expect. So I guess this kind of was aiming at a bit of a pale ale with a little bit of hop character coming from the maybe stale Summit hops that I used. But yeah, it's a little bit hazy. So I'm miffed about that. I really am, because the only thing it could possibly be is that the Cooper's yeast may have left a bit of haze in there. So that's my theory anyway. Answers on a postcard, or drop something in the comments if you've got a better idea. But yeah, there it is anyway. It's a nice golden, light golden coloured pale ale, I would say. Right, so with my calculations, I'm expecting there to be a reasonable amount of bitterness from this. I calculated 42 IBUs using the 4 bags of dried malt extract. I did take my eye off the ball a little bit. I was so concentrated on getting the right amount of bitterness that I did not pay much attention to the expected ABV of this beer. So yeah, there's no entry in Brewfather for hopped dried malt extract, so I had to create my own kind of fermentable entry in there. So what I forgot to do actually was change the expected gravity from that. So yeah, I miscalculated a little bit there. So what I have ended up with is what I'm expecting to be 42 IBUs, but I've actually got a 6% ABV beer. So it's a bit stronger than I would normally brew. Right, so first impressions, it's hazy. There's a nice head on there, and it's staying in the glass as well. So considering there's nothing else in here apart from the light dried malt extract, it's actually got quite a nice sort of tight foamy head. It's hanging around as well. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with that actually, because I always add kind of, if I'm doing this sort of thing, I generally add some sort of carapils or dextrin sort of type malt to aid that head retention type thing. So maybe I don't need it. So that's maybe one lesson learned so far. So it looks all right. What does it smell? There's not a huge amount of hop character coming through. It's just in the background. There's not really much to shout about. Smells all right, malty. but yeah, it smells like beer. So let's give it a try. Let's dive in. It's not a huge amount of bitterness in that. So either my calculation is not right, or I've worked it out wrong, but you know, 4 bags of that in 12 litres, you'd expect there to be a reasonable amount of bitterness there. So I was expecting 42 IBUs. Doesn't taste anything like that. Okay. Doesn't really taste a huge amount of anything. Excuse me 1 second, the cat's trying to get out the door. Sorry about that. Yeah, so not much bitterness. Flavour wise, not much to shout about either there. So it tastes like beer. I don't know what it's like, a sort of a tasteless pale ale. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, there's not really much going on there at all. Quite disappointing, really, if I'm perfectly honest. Not much of that. There's not much hop sort of aroma at all in it. It doesn't really taste of much at all. There's maybe a little bit of sort of fruitiness coming through, and I guess that's from the yeast. I guess that's the only kind of flavour you're really getting, is the flavour that's being left behind by the yeast. It tastes quite alcoholic, which would be okay if it was more heavily hopped. You need that hop character to balance that out, and that's not happening here. So it feels kind of imbalanced. It's a bit kind of nothingy, really, if I'm perfectly honest. But lovely head retention. If that's one plus point, I'd say that head's pretty decent, and that just goes to show that, you know, just using light dried malt extract, you get a perfectly good head, and it hangs around. Other than that, bit disappointed. So what have I learned? I've learned that the hopped dried malt extract imparts very little bitterness. I'm hardly picking up any bitterness at all in this, which makes it a bit weird. Yeah, if there was a bit more bitterness and a bit more hop character, it would be a drinkable beer, but as it stands, not too good. The other plus point, I suppose, is that this has cost me 20 pence based on the bargain light dried malt extract that I got, and the free hops and the free yeast. So at 20p a glass, I'm going to probably drink the rest of this one and not bother with the others, to be perfectly honest. So as a baseline, which this experiment was, I think I've learned a few lessons. I don't think I'll be doing that again, using just the malt and some dried and some dry hop. It didn't work. I think it needs tweaking. So maybe some specialty grains, some, I don't know, maybe some hops in a late edition, a lot more bitterness, and generally, yeah, just a lot more work on that. But it's an experiment. You don't know till you try it, do you? So anyway, I'm going to go and pour myself something else. It's Friday. I've had a long week and I need a proper beer, so I'm going to maybe pour myself something else and enjoy that instead. Cheers anyway, guys.